You're listening to the Steven Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Steven Tauriello Show. And now, here's Steven.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. As always, thank you for tuning in, and here we are. We're on video. Finally, we are on a video platform. I'll have to be honest, it feels really weird. Just normally, I would just be sitting here talking to my mic and looking down at my notes or my phone, but now I have a camera to look at, and so I'm speaking directly to you, and now you can put a face to the voice. And listen, it is a work in progress. I have no idea really what I'm doing. I'm just kind of piecing things together and learning as I go. It is nothing like just audio only. It's certainly not as simple. There is way so much more to this. I'm not even using the same software I normally would with an audio podcast. So you're gonna have to bear in there and hang in there with me and just we're gonna get there. Trust me, we're gonna get there. We got a few months before the election, and so that is the purpose of going to a video platform, because I think a visual representation is more relatable and more retainable for people than an audio representation. And so I think it's more important that we do video than audio, but the audio is still going to be on the podcast like normal. It's going to be the same time, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Nothing's going to change on the podcast audio, except now we're going to have video to upload to Rumble and the last bastion for free speech and YouTube for now. For now, we'll see how that goes. So nothing's going to change there. And yeah, so we have a lot to get into. All right, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we have, for the very first time in America, we are actually having the debate of communism in America. Seriously, we have a ticket where you have two radical socialist communists. They're not even hiding it anymore, and I'm going to show it to you. I think it's important for people to know the media is not going to do us any favors. They are already in the bag to try and get a Democrat across the line so that we can all suffer for another 4 years, as if the last 4 years wasn't enough. And what really pisses people off, it should anyways, is why are we listening to millionaires on who to vote? Why are middle-class average Americans, why are middle working-class Americans listening to multimillionaires on TV on who to vote for? These people are virtually unaffected by no matter who gets elected. You really think it's good for a plumber Joe to listen to Joe and Mika in the morning, people that are worth at least $30 million that live in a high-rise condominium in Boca Raton, on who to vote for? You think when you're suffering with grocery prices and interest rates and inflation and car prices and insurance prices, when you're struggling financially, when you see the country going to hell in a handbasket, do you think Joe and Mika that are in that high rise, do you think it affects them at all? Do you think they're struggling at all? No. So I just never really understood this thing where people actually listen to people like Joe and Mika, the multimillionaire celebrities, on who to vote for and what's in their best interest. I just never understood it. And honestly, I don't think people are this time. I really don't. Call me naive, but I seem to be a little optimistic this time that people are not going to be falling for the same bullshit anymore. I just don't think they are. Say what you will about the polls and all that stuff. I see the polls as tightening. We've seen this in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. And Donald Trump came out on top. So I think Donald Trump does his best when he's the underdog. And listen, I think people are going to make the right choice. I don't see the majority of Americans going through another 4 years of this. And it's going to be worse the next 4 years, because never, ever in this country's history did we have a political party so radical and adopting so much socialistic bullshit that I don't even really know where to start, to be honest. And you can get all of this stuff. You could see it in Kamala Harris's speeches and the way that she talks her voting record. This is why govtrack.org had to rebuff or scrub her past voting record because it's so radical. Who did she pick for a ticket? She doubled down with a radical socialist. Tim Walz is a socialist. He honeymooned in China, right? I mean, this should tell you everything you need to know about the direction these people are going. And for the first time, we have two complete different records. You have two paths, and I've said this from day one. There's two paths America can go on. We can go back to normalcy, which is common sense, where, boys going in boys' bathrooms and girls going in girls' bathrooms, simple stuff like that. Or we can go completely radical. And so that is what I want to get into. So I have a video of Tim Walz. This is actually, it's not Tim Walz per se, but it is a woman from Bloomberg News talking about Tim Walz's past and really why Kamala Harris picked him. Here, check this out.
Effects there, but when you're contrasting this with, the Republican contender Donald Trump, who in picking J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio, kind of doubled down on his base more than, built out any kind of, broader coalition building here, then you do have what seems to be a different strategy there in trying to really try to win over an appeal. Obviously, Kamala Harris, though, is running a very unusual and really kind of unprecedented campaign, trying to get things going the last 100 days. We'll have to see whether that actually has any big effects there.
We talked earlier about his...
All right, so there you go. I mean, it's Tim Walz. They are doubling down on their radicalness. I thought for sure they were going to pick Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania because A, they need Pennsylvania, and B, they want to get some of the Jewish vote, but it is clear and obvious now that the anti-Semites in the Democrat Party clearly mean more to Democrats than the Jewish people. So to my Jewish friends and Jewish listeners out there, how you can vote for this is beyond me. I have no idea, but they are coming out and telling you, we back the anti-Semites, the anti-American Jew haters over the Jews. That should tell you everything you need to know. In fact, there's a lot of signs out there that show just how radical these people are. This is a video I made for TikTok, and this is kind of going semi-viral, but I think it really hammers on the key rhetoric in the Democrat Party and the clear divide between socialism that they want to adopt in America. There's no doubt about it. And what we're dealing with right now, and just going back to common sense. So I made a TikTok video. This was Kamala Harris on the 40th anniversary of the Black History Month. And notice how I double down on the word equity in her speech. Here, check this out.
We also launched the Health Equity Task Force, Equity Task Force, Equity Task Force, to make sure tests and vaccines and other resources are being distributed equitably. Equitably. When we look at Black history, we know that so much of the fight, especially during the Civil Rights Movement, and of course before, has been about equality. We have always fought for equality. But now we are also talking much more rightly about equity.
Remember that word.
Understanding that we must be clear-eyed about the fact that, yes, we want everyone to get an equal amount. That sounds right. But not everyone starts out from the same place. Some people start out on first base, some people start out on third base. And if the goal is truly about equality, it has to be about a goal of saying everybody should end up in the same place. Everybody should end up in the same place. And since we didn't start in the same place, some folks might need more. Equitable distribution. Second, our plan gives $1,400 to those who need it most.
Distribution. These were keywords, and there was a reason why I looped and duplicated some of the key words in there, because the words and the rhetoric she's using is Marxist. These are communist terms and phrases, and I'm going to prove it to you. So Marxism and communism. aim for equal outcomes based on the belief that disparities in wealth and power are inherently unjust and result from the exploitation of workers by capitalists. And here are some key points to consider. So, the Marxist perspective, equality of outcome. Marxism advocates for a society where wealth and resources are distributed based on need rather than individual ability or contribution. This means that everyone, regardless of their upbringing, should have their basic needs met equally. Critic of capitalism. We all know Democrats critique capitalism constantly, as if there's a better system. Marxists argue that capitalism inherently produces inequality because it allows those who own the means of production to accumulate wealth at the expense of workers. The proletariat. The role of upbringing. Marxists believe that the conditions of one's upbringing, such as class, access to education, and opportunities, are largely determined by the economic system. Therefore, they argue that true equality can only be achieved by transforming the economic system itself. These are all phrases that the Democrats are saying today, that in fact the same terms and phrases Kamala Harris was using in her speech. This was a speech just back in 2021. This is what these people support. They are Marxists. This is how Marxism sneaks its dirty little way into America. And they do it all without getting one primary vote. Folks, I'm telling you, this is danger, danger, danger. This is so freaking unbelievable that we are dealing with this type of situation where we're even having the debate about implementing Marxism and communism in America. That is exactly what this is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So here are the criticisms and counter-arguments. Meritocracy. So critics argue that equal outcomes do not account for individual effort, talent, and motivation. They advocate for mediocrity, where people are rewarded based on their contributions and abilities rather than ensuring equal outcomes for all. Sounds pretty freaking American, right? That is something we are missing and have been missing in this country for the last 10 years. This is why the Overton window has been shifting to the left in this country for almost 2 decades, if not longer. But we've been starting to notice it a lot since Obama, and it's because they are making the shift to Marxism and communism. I don't know how else to show it. They are telling you on their speech, Kamala Harris is telling you in her speech that they want equal outcomes. And you do that by redistributing wealth. So here's another counter argument for Marxism. Innovation and efficiency. Some believe that focus on equal outcomes can reduce incentives or innovation and hard work, potentially leading to economic stagnation and inefficiency. The conclusion. Whether everyone deserves equal outcomes is a complex and continuous question. Marxism and communism advocate for a system that minimizes disparities and ensures that everyone's needs are met. However, critiques argue that this approach can undermine individual incentives and lead to inefficiencies and authoritarianism. That's it. We know that's what it leads to. Why? Because we've done it before. We've seen it before. It's been implemented before, all throughout different countries in history. So I don't understand this constant push for socialism in America. You have the Democratic Socialist Party. And why do they hide from it anyways? If they're socialists and they want communism and they want Marxism, just come out and say it. Why hide it? Why sneak in the back door? Kamala Harris is not. They are doing it right in front of your face. And they're going to point to speeches just like the speech in the 40th anniversary of Black History Month that Kamala did. And they're going to say, well, you knew what we wanted. You knew that we were going to go towards socialism. I mean, we were pretty much telling you right to your face. We were talking about equity and equal outcomes and redistribution of wealth to lift all boats. And no, it's not high tides raises all ships. It's sink all the ships to the bottom. That's what socialism is. And I think it's so vitally important that people pay attention because that is what they're ushering in America. And it is so freaking dangerous. And communism has led to so many deaths around the world throughout history. Millions upon millions of people have died because of communism, and they want to implement the same stuff again. I think it's disgusting. I think it should be terrifying to people. I think people really need to open their eyes and they need to realize that what you're told by the media, they are nothing but an arm of the administrative state. They are state-run media at this point. They are Pravda propaganda, just like we always say on the show. These media outlets are propaganda. Nothing more, nothing else. Who do they want to get across the finish line? Who does CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, who do they all want to get across the finish line? Kamala Harris, right? News is supposed to be unbiased. They're not supposed to be pushing for either party across the finish line. They're supposed to give the people the truth. For these moments just like this, when the media, the press, is hijacked by the administrative state and becomes one with the government, and they have this symbiotic relationship, that's where we come in. The American people are supposed to inform themselves, and I find it crazy how we have the world's information at the tips of our fingers, and people are still having the debate about whether we should implement communism and socialism and Marxism in America or stick with the meritocracy and capitalism. It's just mind-blowing to me. Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, they are radical socialists. That wasn't the only speech that Kamala Harris has referred to equity and equality and all that other stuff. You guys remember the speech that she made several times where she talks about not being burdened by the past and being unburdened by what has been, all that stupid garbage. That is actually talk for Marxism. Again, that is what you call historical revisionism. And it is something that the Chinese Communist Party did back during their revolution, and it's used today by many different totalitarian regimes and authoritarian regimes to reimagine their history, because they have to change history in order to reimagine their country, right? Sounds just like Democrat rhetoric. Sounds just like something Kamala Harris would say. So why do I mention historical revisionism? So when Kamala Harris, when she talks about being unburdened by the past, it's not just a word salad. I was actually kind of embarrassed that I was one of the people that jumped on this. I totally thought this was word salad coming from Kamala Harris. And I'm like, wait a minute. I've heard these words and these phrases before. She's talking about Marxism, folks. She's talking about historical revisionism. It's not a word salad. In fact, historical revisionism is Marxism, and we've seen this a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Marxism once again in America, and I can prove it to you. So, what is historical revisionism? Let's get into this. So, historical revisionism is the process of reinterpreting or reanalyzing historical events, figures, or periods, often with the goal of presenting a different perspective from the established or traditional narratives. This can involve re-examining evidence, introducing new information, or challenging prevailing interpretations of history. This is from ChatGPT. So I asked, did China use historical revisionism? Yes, China has engaged in historical revisionism in various ways over the years. The Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, which has ruled China since 1949, has often revised historical narratives to align with its political goals, maintain its legitimacy, and promote nationalism. Some notable examples include the Chinese Civil War, 1927 to 1949. The CCP has portrayed its victory in the Chinese Civil War against the nationalists as an inevitable and heroic struggle led by Mao Zedong. In reality, the war was complex, with numerous factors contributing to the communist victory, including the weakening of the KMT by Japan during World War II and internal KMT corruption. The CCP's version of history often downplays these factors. The Cultural Revolution in 1966 to 1976. Initially, the Cultural Revolution was celebrated by the CCP as a necessary and successful campaign to root out elements and solidify communist ideology. However, as the disastrous effects of the Cultural Revolution became apparent, millions were persecuted, and the country's economy and the culture were severely damaged. The CCP revised the narrative. The Cultural Revolution is now officially condemned as a serious mistake, though the responsibility of Mao Zedong and the party's role are often downplayed or nuanced in official accounts. Tiananmen Square Massacre, 1989, the Chinese government is engaged in extensive efforts to suppress and revise the history of the Tiananmen Square massacre, where thousands of pro-democracy protesters were killed by the military. This event is heavily censored within China, and the official narrative often refers to it as a necessary action to maintain stability, without acknowledging the scale of the violence or the legitimate demands of the protesters. Territorial history, the Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945. So you could see who uses historical revisionism. Communists. In fact, that reminds me, who did Tim Walz visit? Where did Tim Walz have his honeymoon? And what was he celebrating? Well, he was celebrating the massacre of Tiananmen Square. He took his honeymoon in the Chinese Communist Party. Ladies and gentlemen, these people are coming out and telling you that they are socialists. They're coming out and telling you that they are Marxists, they are communists. They are trying to implement their radical ideas onto the American people. And I think it is so vital that people wake up, smell the coffee, see what's going on, and do not allow socialism and communism in America. Because I promise you, just like I promised you how bad Joe Biden would be, I'm trying to warn you now. This will be a ginormous mistake. Just like voting for Joe Biden was a big mistake. Independents out there, I'm not worried about the leftists. You're not going to convince them. Sane, rational people out there that may be watching this video, I need you to understand that this party, the Democrat Party, is trying to implement socialism in America. What we're watching right now with this ticket from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is the implementation of Marxism. Marxism will lead to communism. They are socialists. They hold no grudges about this. They may not come out and admit it to it now, but based off both of their records, they are socialists. There's no hiding from this. And besides, why would they want to hide from it? Why, if socialism is so good, then why not just come out and support it? Because they know the American people will not accept it, and we won't. And this is why I'm optimistic. I am optimistic that Tim Walz is probably one of the best picks that Donald Trump could have picked. Because by the time you dig into this guy's past, visiting the Chinese Communist Party, having his honeymoon there, it's just like Bernie Sanders visiting Russia during his honeymoon, or Beto O'Rourke visiting Cuba during his honeymoon. These people are outright socialists. The govtracker.com or whatever website that is has scrubbed Kamala Harris's past voting record. And they've done that for a reason, because they know that she's a radical. I don't believe the American people are ready for communism here in America. I don't think that they are, and I pray that they're not. And I hope the American people are smart enough to do your research. Do your research and look into this stuff. These people are as radical as they can get. Kamala Harris has not come out with any policy ideas. They're not sharing their ideas with you. This is what I find so bizarre. They're going into Trump is bad, Trump is mean. You notice how they don't even talk about his trials anymore. The weaponization that was conducted by the Democrats in the Biden administration is because they know they were just using it as a political strategy. That strategy wasn't working, and so now they're switching. Now they're just trying to go into, by using the relationship they have with the media, they're trying to go in and just gaslight everybody. And they're hoping that 100 days, 90 days, whatever it is, isn't enough time for people to actually find out who they really are and what they actually support. By the time people find out that it was a bad idea to elect a socialist party into the White House, the executive branch, it's going to be too late. These people, I'm telling you, this guy Tim Walz signed executive orders to put tampons in bathrooms, in boys' bathrooms. This is the type of stuff we're dealing with. The comments he made about China, the way he feels about China. This is what I'm talking about. These people are outright telling you we are socialists, and we are that socialism and radicalism is on the ticket. And I urge my followers, you, my listeners, to look into Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Do not let these people run for the presidency without having to answer any questions. I want to know what Kamala Harris's policy is on the southern border. Does anybody honestly think about this? Does anybody honestly think that Kamala Harris is going to fix the border? Does anyone honestly think she's going to fix all these foreign conflicts that we have all over the world? Does anybody think that she's going to fix the economy? No. This woman is a radical, she's incompetent, and there is no freaking way that we are going to deal with this. It is unsustainable. Another 4 years of this is unsustainable. This country cannot handle it. I promise you. I promise you another 4 years of this, there won't be anything left. There will be nothing but a pile of ashes by the time they get out of that office. And by then it's going to be too late. Because these people, listen, I'm not trying to fearmonger people, but I'm telling you, they will stack the courts, and they're going to call it balancing. I know this because I used to be a Democrat. Okay, I know this. I used to be a leftist. I know how these people think. Right now, the only obstacle in their way is the Supreme Court. These people, they will do unprecedented stuff in order to get through an obstacle, an obstruction that they call it, an obstruction. And they will stack the courts, and they will call it balancing, and they will add 4 more justices or whatever they have to do. They're not playing around. These people, they are playing for keeps. There's not going to be anything left after this. The America we used to know, the one that we're fighting for right now, will be long gone and unretrievable if we allow this to go on for another 4 years. So, listen, man. The propaganda machine is in full swing. Everywhere on social media, you have desperate Harris supporters, i.e. never Trumpers. They'll vote for a meat sickle before they vote for Trump. It's truly a mental disorder. And listen, I have the book back there, Trump Derangement Syndrome. It is a real thing. I just hope the independents, the sane, rational people out there that are watching, pay attention to this. Kamala Harris is not your person. I'm telling you right now. You may not like Donald Trump. Whatever your feelings are about Donald Trump, this goes beyond feelings. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And I actually said that to Dane Cook. I sent him a message on TikTok. You know, he's been doing like this, you know, who should I vote for kind of campaign. Like, dude, come on, man. Like, give us a break, bro. We already know, you know, they're so craven for attention. I guess we all are at some point. My attention's legit. I want people to just inform themselves, and I want to inform as many people as possible. That's where my angle comes from. People like Dane Cook. I mean, again, do we really need to listen to multimillionaire celebrities on who to vote for? Do you think they're really going to have our best interest in top of mind? No. So I think the sane, rational people are going to look past the flaws with Donald Trump's character. Because I think people need to remember, character is not going to buy groceries. Character is not going to fix the problems at the southern border. Character is not going to stop the foreign conflicts all over the world. Leadership is. And I know I've said this before on the regular show. Sometimes unconventional leaders come in unconventional times. And there's multiple examples of this. Nelson Mandela, you had Winston Churchill. These people, they really weren't, they were very special in their time. And they weren't necessarily the leaders people were looking for, but they were terrific leaders. And sometimes unconventional leaders come in unconventional times just like this. And despite Donald Trump's flaws, and listen, we're all flawed. I guarantee you, if you took just a fraction of a percent of the effort and time and money they spent investigating Donald Trump, and you investigated any one of those people in Washington, D.C., the place would be a damn ghost town because everyone would be in jail. So, believe it or not, Donald Trump, after 11 years, 10 years of being under a microscope, these people combing through every inch of his life with a fine-tooth comb. And this is what they revealed. And the worst thing is you look at these trials and this lawfare that they're using against him, and any sane, rational person, legal scholar, they're pretty much saying, yeah, pretty much all these cases are going to get reversed. but not until after the election. They're using lawfare, folks. They created Donald Trump as this monster. They wanted to give Donald Trump these attributes. They thought they were going to be able to find them with all the money and investigations they were doing. And then they realized, my God, this guy's no worse than we are. We're really going to have to turn him into a felon. We really need that name. Convicted felon, Donald Trump. And so that's what they set out to do. I never in a million years would have thought a political party would weaponize our justice system like this in a leftist state with a leftist judge in a heavy Democrat area and most likely a majority Democrat jury. And they did this in Georgia. They did this in New York. The case in Florida, I mean, it's pretty much gone at this point. I mean, it's delayed. But I never thought we would see a political party go through this insane lawfare that we have never seen before in this country, ever. I never thought I would see it, and it reminds me of a third world banana republic. This is the type of stuff Venezuela's doing right now. Locking up political opposition, owning and controlling the media to propagandize the people. I mean, people really need to wake up and look around. No matter how you slice this election is going to be the game changer, is going to define the direction this country goes in. And you can either go where we've been the last 4 years, or we can go back to where we were 4 years before that. Peace and prosperity. That is all I ask for. The biggest thing to me is war. I've never liked war ever since I was a Democrat. Anybody that can give the world peace is a good leader. And you have countries around the world that are cheering for Donald Trump to come back because they know that he brings peace. And in the end, all people want is peace, man. I don't like people dying. I don't think people need to die in needless wars. I understand wars are part of human life. But what are we fighting for, man? What are people giving their lives for? Feels a shame to me that in 2024 we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people by now dying in a border dispute, in war. If Donald Trump can come back and bring us peace, is that not worth it all by itself? It sure is to me, man. The economy, great. I like it when everybody's doing good. I like it when my neighbor is doing good financially. I like it when my friends are doing good financially. Prosperity brings unity, folks, and disparity brings division. This is why when people get desperate, they do desperate, unbelievable, evil stuff. But when everybody's prospering, people start coming together. It's quite an amazing sight to see, and everybody was doing good. You know, they've done these polls and these studies, 7 out of 10 people were doing better under Donald Trump than Joe Biden. You see all these studies come out, like how prosperous America was doing under Donald Trump, and you look at these line graphs, and you just see the debt going through the roof. You see the economy doing a freaking hockey stick down into zero barrier, down into no man's land. And you look around and people are desperate. People are desperate. They're clinging. They are struggling. They are living paycheck to paycheck. They are trying to figure out ways to pay off their credit card bills because they had to pay for their electric bill with their credit card. And so now they got a 29% interest rate on a $300 electric bill. Like, this is the real struggles. And I'm sorry, but when people start to become desperate, they start to become angry. They start to become resentful and vengeful. Disparity does not bring out the best in people. Prosperity does. And, people argue, yeah, only the rich were doing good under Donald Trump. It's just not true. All you have to do is look back 4 years. Everybody was doing good. I don't care that the rich people do good, just so long as I'm doing good too. But right now, just the rich are doing good. I assure you, the only people that want to see another Biden for 4 years, because that's pretty much what Kamala is, the only people that want to see this are our enemies and the rich, wealthy elites. That's it. Because they are the only ones benefiting from a Biden-Kamala administration, period. The middle class, the poor, even the upper middle class, complete train wreck. And it's unsustainable. That's all I can say. People are like, it feels like people are just holding on. They're just waiting for Donald Trump to come through. They're just waiting for this election to be over so that we can start getting back to some type of normalcy. I never thought I would say that voting for Donald Trump is actually a vote for normalcy. But compared to the last 4 years we just seen, this is nuts. It's like we're living in a dystopian nightmare. It's like every day is April Fool's Day, man. I've never seen anything like this. And nobody has. The Democrats have brought us into a serious position here, man. And I think Donald Trump, I think people on the right, I think Americans need to vote against what the Democrats are giving us. You know how there's people that are voting not for Kamala Harris. They can't stand her. I mean, we know this. She didn't even make it past Iowa. They weren't voting for Joe Biden. The guy was a meat sickle. They're voting against Donald Trump. I think millions upon millions of people, the majority of America, needs to vote against what the Democrats have given us for the last 4 years and whatever they plan on giving us for the next. It needs to be a complete repudiation, a absolute demoralization of the Democrat Party to where they lose so bad that they'll have to abandon the radicals in their campaign. That's the only way we get through this. I mean, we can't let these people live close enough. We can't let these people win close enough to where we're like, oh, well, we almost made it, so kind of a lot of people like it, so we'll just try next time. No, we need to send a clear message to Democrats. Whatever you're doing, we don't want anything of it. Nothing. So whatever you're trying to push for, the socialism, this Marxism, this equity stuff you're talking, no, we don't want anything to do with that. Get rid of it. And the only way we can do that is on Election Day, where we all have one vote and everybody has just one. And really, one is enough for everybody. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for now. Hopefully, I can edit this first video. I'm not going to do too much editing. I'm going to play around with it, but hopefully you like the first video. If you want to support the podcast, you can download the podcast anywhere podcasts are found. And also now, so you can subscribe to my Rumble channel. Find me on Rumble, the last bastion for free speech. And YouTube, you can probably find the video on YouTube. We're going to upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just like normal. And I have to say, it's been very, very, very exciting to sit here and talk to you on camera. It actually feels like I'm talking to you, my audience, in real life. So I'm extremely excited, and you're just going to have to bear with me while I get all this stuff figured out, the programs and the timing and all this stuff. So we'll get there, trust me, but this feels so good. And I just want to thank you guys so much. You guys have been a terrific audience. I have the best audience in podcast history. You guys are smart. You teach me stuff. You're so informative. You're so active and engaging, and that is exactly what we need. True patriots, man. You guys are the best of the best, and I appreciate you so much. And yeah, so I will talk to you guys here in a little bit. Next segment, I don't really have anything written down for what we're going to talk about next. I'm sure it's going to be some more of the radical stuff coming out of the Democrat Party. I actually wanted to get into this CRISPR technology that is kind of a sleeping giant. Nobody's really talking about. This happens a lot right before elections. There's big stories that come out, and if it doesn't have anything to do with politics, it's not being talked about. So I want to talk about that, some weird stuff going on with CRISPR technology and gene cloning and gene editing tools. It's getting crazy out there, folks. I'm telling you right now. It's like some stuff out of a horror movie. So I want to get into that. That's probably what we'll talk about next segment. If you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at steventaurielloshow@gmail.com. And as always, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I want you guys to have a good day. Have a great weekend. TGIF. God bless you, and long live the Republic. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.